Lead and Feel. Hey everyone! In this episode, I would like to discuss the loneliness when you're a leader or manager, especially within an organization, climbing your way up high. Sometimes that I would have never thought. But once you realize that and manage to name it, it was very useful to be aware of that. So, does it spark your interest? Get yourself comfortable and let's dive into it. Loneliness. I guess that feeling is so subjective, right? To start with, very unique to us all, and some of us feel lonely in some situations, some barely feel it. And yeah, loneliness is still also happens at work in my experience of coming from my experience. So however, after sharing that with some of people around me, and yeah, big high five to finally opening up to my colleagues, I noticed I'm not alone with being lonely, and barely anyone speaks about it, and at least not often enough in my opinion. So I decided to devote one of the episodes for that, because as it seems that being a leader, getting promoted, having people to manage is mostly all awesome things. But yeah, it's not. And some stuff I kind of embraced it and I knew it will not be easy, firing people, hiring, a lot of work with responsibility. But the loneliness part, I didn't expect it, or I didn't see it coming. So leading a team is, always being available to the people, to your team members when they need you, when they need to spar with you, when they have doubts, etc. And you would think you would do the same with your own manager if you've got anyone above you, but especially when you end up reporting to a director or to a CEO, it just doesn't fully happen. You have very limited agenda and time, and and you also don't want to fully disclose, right, what you're slacking with, or you just simply don't want to bother the other person with your stuff, or even sometimes maybe something personal that's bothering you. So yeah, you get to be stuck in the limbo between one layer, so-called below you, and the other layer above you. And there's not so many people in the limbo area, especially in your domain of expertise, right? Usually it's just one team of your expertise in the organization, and there's no other manager or a head of the department or a team lead than just you. So in a very dry, shortcutted way, people below you expect your availability, support, and knowledge, and people above you need your deliverables, right? Your results and your targets and your KPIs. Oh, damn it. Yeah. So, where is the space for you to share your ideas, concerns, self doubts? How do you prepare this big kick-ass strategy for the next year? Or how do you present these amazing innovative ideas which will change the world and bring the company to the next level? And by the way, many times I was like, how the hell can I know how many members, clients, customers would we get by next year? Or what kind of targets, what kind of budget will we need and will we spend? Like, I don't know about you, but I would always laugh inside when I see those fancy target estimations, like where no one can tell actually the future anyways, right? And then every month passes by and you gotta adjust your target here and there. So yeah, so how do you end up there? And what do you do where everything is expected of you to be delivered, right? And know all the answers. So, yeah, well, you do it by yourself mainly. And I'm not talking about, that you don't share these with your team, you don't include them, or your manager, or you don't delegate. But it's still quite a lonely process from my experience of feeling responsible, feeling the ownership, and keeping confidential information, keeping the bad news until they can go public, etc. And yeah, many times I felt schizophrenic, knowing already what's gonna happen to the organization, but my team couldn't know it by then yet. And yeah, it may seem cool that you have all the information, all the access to information faster and earlier, but it's also quite a burden, right? And I'm just not amazing and very good at pretending all is fine. And at least it also just costs me a lot of energy to keep pretending. So, having worked for a few startups slash scale ups already, where the future is like more than uncertain, I experienced quite a few shakeups already, where due to a crisis or a financial situation, I was basically giving a list of people to fire. And geez, right? It's like, hey Maggie, you are the boss of the team. Here are a lot of people. That's that sucks, but you gotta do it. Good luck. So yeah, I could decide, when and how to do that, but still, keeping my face up until that moment and keep running the team, gosh, I don't recommend it. Or even worse, giving a number of FTEs, headcount, you need to decrease your team with by next month. And then you gotta pick so that the numbers would match and then deliver the message. Jeez, yeah, and even worse, there's no good way, right, to let person go, but that I will cover in another episode. So yeah, like these moments, I think you can't escape from being lonely, and I think it's just part of the game. And even though, people could think of many solutions or give you a lot of advice how to process it or how to handle that, I think there's no really way of to handle that. There's no thing just to fix it. I think just the way it is. So, coming back to the loneliness topic, I could also feel that I'll be alone with my feelings. Many team members would report to me. We would usually become pretty close colleagues or even friends that I have until now. But then I would finish that meeting and be left with many things to process from that conversation, A lot of insecurities, a lot of celebrations, yeah, basically everything, right? The one-to-ones, in my opinion, should not be only about, dry work, deliverables, and tasks. I think it's all about making sure that your employee is happy, right? And your team member is fully aligned and motivated to do the job. And then multiply it by, for example, 10 people if your team was this size. So then it's like, again, where can I have this moment to also share with someone so deeply and then on a regular basis? Basically, not much, I believe. And again, it's not a rant to my managers or a complaint. It's just I know that's how it is, and you just don't get so deep anymore in the meetings when you climb your ladder up. I think because in the end, then I think the relationships change as well. And I'm not saying for worse or for better. It's basically I think the situation, the context, and the circumstances when the dynamics of your one-to-one of your one-to-ones with your team members, with your manager, and I don't know who else, they just have a different nature over time. So yeah, leadership and the authentic, the humane one, from my perspective, it's not all fluffy stuff. And I don't want this episode, to sound super negative or draining, but we are here to be authentic, aren't we? So, as well, I'm not looking for advice or solution to it per se, as I mentioned before. So for me, realizing and naming it was already sufficient to acknowledge that that's the part of the deal. But then later on, I also opened up a bit to other leaders in my organization from other teams and departments. And I realized, ironically, indeed, we are not alone in it. And yes, topics might differ, problems might not be the same, and the dynamics of the departments might not be exactly the same. But the feeling of loneliness, the sense of responsibility, confidentiality, etc., there was quite a few common denominators, especially in the times of crisis. The crisis within the organization, due to internal stuff or the work crisis, like nowadays, you name it. But then there is something that indeed binds you guys, like leaders, team leads, heads, and probably sooner or later we will experience similar stuff all together. And I think we don't spend enough time to reflect on it. We don't book enough time in our busy schedule, busy agenda, just to make a downtime, like devote part of your time to reboot, restart, acknowledge what happened the day, embrace whatever you're feeling and however things are affecting you around you. And yeah, leaders are also humans, right? You're a human too, not a robot, not a soulless creature. And it can just be lonely out there. So, as my podcast is not per se, a self-help book style, what I just want to finish this time with basically asking you to take a pause, to sit back, to check in with yourself, how you're feeling, embracing it, welcoming it. What's happening out there at the moment, deep, deep inside of you? Even if you are not a, classical leader, a team manager, or a head of department, what's going on right now over there, deep inside of your beautiful soul? And maybe, if you feel like it, talk to someone else about it, because why not? So, guys, that was a bit of a shorter episode today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe it sparked some interest or some questions and reflections. Let me know if you felt the same or had similar experiences, how it's been for you. I'm curious to hear it, obviously, as always. And don't forget to lead and feel. And thanks, guys, for forgiving me and for understanding my p and th and what is it? B sound. I will be more mindful about it next time on my microphone. Bye.